Well, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Just Thought You Should Know. Tonight we're going to go ahead and talk about the differences between predator calling and predator calling contests. Is there a difference? If so, what is it? Well, my guest tonight will help educate us on what exactly is predator calling and what type of calls are used. So I'd like to introduce my guest, Larry Staley. Larry, get us on the right road, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here this evening. So, predator hunting's a passion of mine. If there's one thing that my wife and my kids know, that's all I'm going to talk about is coyote hunting and going out and getting after predators. So, it's one of the main things I like to do, and I'm glad that I got to be a part of the show tonight. So,
awesome. So, Larry, we kind of talked about, is there a difference between predator calling contests and predator calling? As you know, there's a resolution right now out by the Clark County Commission to outlaw, to ban wildlife calling contests. Mm-hmm. Okay? I just want to elaborate on that a little bit. If that goes through, the definition of wildlife in Nevada, 501.097, says wildlife is a bird, it's a mammal, it's a fish. So all of these fishing tournaments and Kiwanis clubs and all that stuff would go by the wayside.
Yeah, that's 100% it. That's the truth. They call them coyote killing contests when the reality is it's not a killing contest, it's a calling contest. And coyotes are smart. They're hard to call in. They're the most educated predator out there, and that's what attracts a lot of people to them is people going out trying to call them in. They're not easy. And if people want to sit there and say, hey, they're going out there and killing them by the droves and they're coming in like nothing, that's 100% not it. It's calling. They're very, very smart animals. They're hard to come in. That's why hunters go after them. And that's the one thing I'd like to point out. It's not a coyote killing contest. It's a calling contest.
So are you saying there's some nights you get skunked?
Oh, of course. There's plenty of nights that I go out and I don't get anything at all. And I come home and my wife's like, well, how was it? And I'm like, well, I might have seen an eyeball or I might have seen a coyote today, or I didn't see anything at all because, hey, the wind was blowing and they came in, they smelled my scent and they were gone. And that's the truth. The coyotes are not what people think they are. They're an extremely adaptable, advantageous predator that goes after anything, and they are smart and they always go downwind. They have the advantage when we're out there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've survived for centuries.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why you can't eradicate them. And people think that we're trying to eradicate them. No, we're just trying to keep them in a controllable number so that we've got a balance.
You got to keep the population in check. Just like we have big game seasons, there's no season on coyotes, and there's probably a good reason for that. Just as you were talking with Tracy last week, that the NDOW can't even come up with the number of coyotes that are actually in Nevada.
Right.
And they just say that it's very healthy, which if you don't have a regulation on them and they're unprotected, that probably that's a good clue that there are too many as it is right now.
Well, NDOW says we have a healthy population.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good point, because in reality what that proposal is proposing to do is put a protection on an unprotected species.
Yeah.
In reality, that's what they're trying to do. Yeah. So, we call that a slippery slope, and yes, it is, because it has ramifications that a lot of people aren't thinking of. Well, let me give you a couple quick examples. I am also the president of Las Vegas Woods and Waters. Mm-hmm. We put on 5 fishing tournaments a year as a club.
Yeah.
If this passes and goes through, it will be illegal for us to hold those fishing tournaments.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I'll take you one up. Nevada big game hunters. People that like to go out there and chase big game and they want to get the biggest trophy that there is. Hey, guess what? The Nevada record book's going to have to go away, and those shiny buckles they give to the top 3 in every species, hey, that's a contest.
Never seen one of those.
Never seen. Yeah, me neither. I was real close a couple of years ago, but just fell a couple inches short on my sheet. Yeah. But that's the fact of the matter, that's a competition. That will have to go away. Anything like that will disappear.
So you use the word competition. I said this on the last show. We consider ourselves a sportsman.
Yeah.
It is sport. And our wildlife in the state, by the regulations, is called a game animal.
That's 100% right.
And that we refer to it as game, we refer to it as a sport. Yes, it is a blood sport, but anything that's living that gets harvested, whether it's Costco's meat packing, whatever. It's I don't care if it's a pork, anything, a bird. That is true. So I think they're just getting way off into the weeds and stuff on that. But let's talk about how did you get involved in coyote calling?
So I got into coyote hunting just like anybody else probably does. It was my dad teaching me how to do it, and I just remember being a little boy. My dad had some hand calls. He had some Ed Seary hand calls, and he used those all the time. And he'd go out with my uncle, and they'd go coyote calling, and they'd go do these. They'd go out and have fun. And I remember I was about 12 years old. My dad gave me my own set of Ed Seary hand calls. I still have those same hand calls today.
The little green ones?
Yeah, the little green ones.
Hard plastic?
Hard plastic. Yeah. He had the wood ones, the original wood ones, and so he got me the camo hard plastic Ed Seary hand calls, and I remember just going out with my friends all the time and be like, hey, let's go do something fun. It kept us out of trouble. We went out and we tried to call coyotes, and I wasn't very successful as a young boy, but grew up and started learning how to do it, and I watched lots of videos, and I watched lots of Randy Anderson and Les Johnson and all kinds of things.
Boy, those are some legends.
Yeah, those are some of
Yeah.
the best callers there are, and that's what it took for me to become better myself, was watching these videos. I liked Tony Tebby had an instructional video. He produces some of the best vocals and best sounds in the market.
Yeah.
And I had one of his DVDs, and I'll still watch it every season. Before every season starts, I'll pull out Tony Tebby's instructional video because I have it, and I'll sit down and get back to the basics and just kind of recoach myself, just to be like, hey, okay, I got to remember this, because I get so worked up, or I get on my stand and I'm not thinking about the wind, or I'm not thinking about where I should set my call. And so it kind of helps me bring me back into what I need to do and just the basics.
Back to the basics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but get back to your point, where I got my start was my dad teaching me how to do it.
So let me ask you, if you can remember, how many trips did you take out into the field before you ever got to get a coyote to come in?
I got my first coyote to come in. I was probably 14 or 15, and I remember, and I didn't even get it, but I called it in. I remember I called it in, and I was excited because I had gone out by myself. I walked down to the end of the ranch, to the end of the fields, and I remember I sat up on the hill, and I started blowing my call, and lo and behold, I look out, and there was a coyote coming, and
on a run?
It was running to me. And I remember I didn't have shooting sticks or bipods. I just remember I was putting my gun up on my knee, and I was sitting there trying to shoot, and I ended up missing it. And I remember I was so excited, though. I got home, and I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I called in my first coyote, and he was ecstatic for me and excited, and it was just something I've never forgotten. And it's been fun because, being a dad myself, I've been able to take my own boys out and help them to. I might be the one doing the calling or whatever, but I've been able to help them get their first coyotes and to see what it's about. And that's what my dad taught us, is, hey, predator management. I grew up on a ranch, and so I remember my great grandpa and my grandpa telling me all the time, if you see one, take care of it, because hey, there's livestock that we got to protect and everything else like that.
So you guys did it for protection.
Yeah.
It was more of a necessity.
It was
kind of like somebody will go and call a pest control to come on out
100%.
and come out and say, hey, look, I got a big problem with black widows. I got I got cockroaches. I got all this stuff. So the non-consumptive user kind of says, you guys shoot it and leave it lay sometimes, not always, sometimes. And so I mean I've gone on record and I said, look, I'll tell you what. You go out after the pest control guy's been there, go sweep up your cockroaches. You eat your cockroaches, I'll eat a coyote. Yeah. They would never dream of doing that.
No.
A coyote is a predator.
Yeah.
It's not a game animal per se. Yes, it's brown, it's got eyes, it's furry, it looks like a dog, and stuff. But it's not. I guess there's few people that would go and eat those and stuff. But as the norm, it's kind of a carp.
Yeah.
If you will.
It is. But the one thing I like to do, and there's many people like me out there in Nevada that like to put up fur. I like to take the hide and put it up and take it and sell it.
Explain what you mean, put it up.
So basically, I go out there, I call a coyote, I shoot it, I bring it home with me, and then my wife always loves that, but I bring it home, and I skin it out. I skin the coyote, and then I have to flesh the coyote. There's a lot of work. It's not easy. I have to flesh it to make sure that I get all of the meat off the skin,
yep.
so that way it doesn't start to decompose. And then once I get that done, I have to put it on a stretcher, and I have to get it stretched and dried out in essence. And once it's dried out, I'll hang it up on a hanger, and hopefully I get a few more. And then at the end of the season, the end of the first season, when the fur buyers come in, you can go up to the Nevada Trappers Association's fur sale that they do up in Fallon. Yeah. And it didn't get to happen this year, which is kind of sad because of COVID, but it's a great time. You get to meet a lot of like-minded individuals, trappers, predator hunters in general, and you get to meet fur buyers, and they'll buy your fur, and they send it usually internationally. So it's a pretty good time, and it's a lost art, and I think there should be more people that get into it. If you shoot a predator, hey, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there on how to learn how to take care of and skin a coyote and how to put fur up. I think a lot more sportsmen should get into that, just for the fact of it's a dying art. It's something that is being lost, and our state was founded by trappers.
That's right. I mean, you got you go up to the state capitol up there. You got Kit Carson.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you look at right here in Vegas. You look at some of our streets. We got Bridger. We got Gas. We got Carson and stuff. These guys were, some of the settlers were trappers.
And people don't know that. That's exactly it. You go downtown, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing these names on all these streets next to Las Vegas Boulevard. Well, guess what? Those people were actual trappers in Nevada. That was their main thing when they came to our state, was the fur market, and that's how our state came to be known.
You're right. So your dad takes you out. You get hooked on it. It's like, okay, because it is a challenge.
Oh, it is. It's not easy.
It's a mental challenge. Yeah. It's a physical challenge. You might be raining one night. The wind might be blowing. It might be cold. I mean, tonight's a good example. It was nice during the day, but right now, man, that wind's already starting to blow. It's cooling down.
Exactly. It's definitely, coyote calling is definitely challenging, and it always pushes you to try and do better. I learn something on stand every time, and I've taken a lot of people out with me to go coyote calling. And the one thing I try and tell them is just, hey, every time you go out, just try something different. I'll try a different sound. I'll try a different setup, whatever it is. And sometimes it works in my favor, and I get a coyote. Sometimes it kind of comes back to bite me in the butt, and then next thing you know, I've got a coyote backdooring me because I didn't check up, or I didn't put my stuff in the right situation, or whatever it is. And the coyote wins. And a lot of times coyotes win the contest. They win the contest that is between him and I. They're the top predator in their world. We're the top predator in ours, and it's kind of a battle between who can do what. And it's not easy by any means. And if anybody thinks that coyote hunting is easy, hey, go pick up a hand call from any sporting store and go try to call a coyote in. And more than likely, you're going to come back with your tail between your legs because you got your butt handed to you all day long. Not seeing anything, and that's the truth.
So let me ask you. Okay, so you take a call and you go out there. You're not right in the middle of coyotes. The calling is they're generally a ways off. Sometimes they might be right there in the area, but you actually have to sit there for probably 30 minutes or so. Once you call it a stand.
Yeah.
So once you make that stand and you start calling, how long do you give before you say, okay, there's none out here, let's move?
Well, that's kind of a trick question depending on the season. So let me expound on that. So you have different seasons. Right now is the end of the breeding season.
Yes.
You're going to start going into the denning season where coyotes are more territorial. They're next to their dens. They're not going to leave very far. So you have to be like right up close to wherever they're at, or else you're not going to get a response. And that's this season that's coming up when they're starting.
Because they're not going to leave their so-called territory.
They're not going to leave their territory. They're going to be super territorial about where they're at. They're going to be territorial about where other dogs or canines are at. So if you're a citizen and you're walking in with your dog and you're close to their den, you're probably going to see, which I get calls all the time from people that, hey, I was walking my dog this morning and these coyotes were like coming at me. Well, they're not technically coming after you. They see your dog and they see the dog as a threat. And so they're just making sure that dog leaves their area.
It's not so much a meal, even though it is, but it's more of a threat.
It's more of a threat
because it's a territorial.
And that's through the springtime. Summertime, the pups start to come out, and in the early fall, you get the pup dispersal where the pups start leaving the den. they're going out and doing their own thing. They're starting to learn how to fight or how to hunt and do
Scavenge
things
for
on
themselves.
Exactly, scavenge for themselves. And then you get the fall time where, hey, it's full bore. It's some of the best coyote calling you can ever do.
Yeah.
And that's just the fact. And if I was calling during that time of year, my stands are no longer than 15 minutes. Like I'm moving from stand to stand, covering country. And that's basically a lot of times. If the coyotes aren't coming within the next, within like the 8-minute mark, I'm starting to play some pup distress sounds, some fight sounds, seeing if anything's coming in, then I'm moving on.
So,
right now I'd probably be sitting a lot longer than normal, and I'd be playing a lot more vocals, so meaning more howls, more fights.
Making them think another dog is coming in their territory.
Another coyote's coming in their territory. What's this intruder doing? And they start to come to investigate that to see what's going on. And that's kind of how, and I would have to technically stay out a little bit longer on stands. I might play a little bit of distress in there, but for the most part it's vocals, pup distress, and I'm just trying to get them to engage and be aggressive towards another animal being, or another coyote or dog being in their area.
You're saying, hey, come on, buddy, I want to fight.
Exactly, that's exactly it.
Okay, so with technology has improved a lot.
It's come a long way.
Now, yeah. So now you get up into the electronic calls. I mean, I remember, Johnny Stewart's and stuff, that when they first came out and stuff. I first started on the Cersei calls.
Okay.
I still have them in my little pouch, and I have some, but my kids don't know what they are and stuff.
So they've come a long way. I still carry on I have a lanyard and I have my remote. I use a Lucky Duck, which is just another brand of electronic call.
Sure.
My brother uses a Fox Pro. I know a lot of guys that use Ecotech or Icotech. There's guys that use Primos. One of my first calls was a Primos. It was a little turbo dog, and I was all excited because I was like, "Oh man, I can put this call out there, and I don't have to sit there and blow the entire time and be winded." But I still carry on my lanyard. I have a set of Steve Kreiner's, the Dog Soldier. I have a set of his hand calls. I have a Les Johnson hand call that my brother got me for Christmas one year. I have a couple hand calls from Rick Paylett, and hands down Ed Siri. I still have his hand calls on there. Hand calls are awesome. I like using hand calls because they're the tried and true. I remember when you hand call a coyote, it's a lot different than calling it in with an e-call. You actually called it in. You're like blowing on the call. Yeah. And
you are the one who coaxed it in, not a tape.
Not the Lucky Duck and all that stuff. So it's kind of fun to do.
So there is some science to that. There's some data, because as you go out, you learn the methods. You learn what works, what doesn't. I mean, that's what they don't understand is that is actual data for you.
Yeah, it's all trial and error, and that's what it is for me. Like I know some guys, and I'm probably going to do this next season. I've wanted to the last couple of years. I don't know why I haven't. There's guys that keep a log and they write down every stand they made, how long they were on the stand, what calls they were playing, the weather conditions, all that stuff. They kind of keep a log, and it kind of helps them. Okay, well, this is how the coyotes responded. Now, a year later, they can come back and go over that data, like you said, and be like, okay, well, it's kind of like the same day kind of deal. Maybe I'll play some of this and see what happens. And there's guys that do that, which is pretty cool. I've seen it. So I think that's it is. It's all trial and error, though. I'll go out and I'll try something different, and if it doesn't work, I'll try something different again, and it's all just trial and error and going out and just going out. There's a lot of people that ask that want to get into coyote hunting. Where should I go? What should I do? What call should I use? And a lot of times I tell them, hey, go get whatever call you can afford and go out there and just go try it. Just go try, and you'll learn more by going out than asking for information on Facebook or whatever it is. You just go out and start learning trial by error. You're going to start to learn what you should and shouldn't do really easy. So
the results are going to speak for itself.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yep. So let's get into the calling contest. You've already talked about is you go out. Now, let me back up a minute. When you go out, do you generally go by yourself? Do you go with a friend? Do you go with? I know you got 5 kids.
Yeah.
Do you start taking the kids out?
No, I haven't taken that. Well, in essence, I've done a couple little over sodas with my brother and a buddy of mine. We've called for that, and we've taken our kids with us. It's pretty fun. But for the most part, it's my friends. It's my friends and my family. And, a lot of times, it's my brothers and my dad. That's who we would go with, and I still go with my brothers and brother-in-law and my dad and other friends that want to go out, and it's camaraderie is what it is, and it's having a good time.
It is.
Oops, sorry.
I mean, I get a lot of guys. I play golf.
Yeah.
I do fishing. It's not so much what you're going to go do, is who you're going to go with.
And that's it.
It's the company.
That's what it is. That's even in big game hunting. That's the same thing. You go to deer camp, elk camp, whatever camp it is, you're going there to enjoy the experience with the people that you went with. And hey, if you get something, that's awesome. But at the same time, you've got to make those memories, and a lot of times that's all you have when people go.
You're right. That's what it is. It is the memories and stuff. So is there a difference between preparing just to go out with your friend versus going out in a tournament? Do you use a different gun? Do you use a different call?
No, I use the same setup every time. So the only difference that I do between just going out with friends and going out on a coyote competition is I'm going to do a lot more scouting. So scouting,
pre-hunting,
pre-hunting. So if I'm going out with my friends, hey Joe, let's go out, Colin. We're going to go hit up.
We'll go try this other spot.
Let's go try this spot up here. It's kind of like a spur of the moment. Let's just go. If I'm doing a contest with my dad and brothers and stuff, I might go out the week before and kind of go locating and try and find some coyotes and howl at them and see where they're at in the general areas. Doesn't mean I won't do that with my friends, but a lot of times it's just me. We're going out to find we're trying to locate coyotes exactly where they're at. So that's the biggest difference for me with a contest and just going out and having fun.
So to the people that are proposing to do a ban, the thing that's got my attention is the fact that they're not trying to outlaw the coyote hunting. Mm-hmm. They're not saying you can't go.
Yeah.
It's quite upsetting to say you can't go with your friends.
Yeah.
You can't go have dinner and socialize with these people before you go do it, because that's bad.
Yeah, and that's sad to say, but that's what traditionally that's what they're saying is, okay, well, your group of you guys can't get together, go eat food, and then be like, okay, well, let's go out all night and come back in the morning and see what everybody has. And that's in essence what a coyote contest is guys getting together, like-minded individuals, people that like to chase predators and the challenge of it, and they go out. So they'll all come together, they'll meet up, there's rules to it. You can't sit there and pick up roadkill coyotes. You can't fly coyotes. You can't do all that stuff. It's calling. It's meant to be a challenge, and it's meant to be rewarding in the fact that if you call in coyotes and if you get as many as you can, hey, there's a possibility that you beat all your buddies, and it's bragging rights is what it is, and that's in essence what it is.
So on the socializing, I look at how many banquets are put on just here in Las Vegas.
Oh, there's lots.
I mean, you got 800 people going to the Fraternity of Desert Bighorn. Oh. You get almost 400 at a Woods of Waters banquet. You got WIN, Wildlife Habitat Improvement for Nevada. You got fishing tournament. There are so many banquets that are raised. That money goes back into the conservation.
Yeah.
And it's like we have socialized for decades.
Yeah,
this isn't anything new. It's the fact that you may go to a private establishment, you may go have a barbecue, you may go have a steak dinner the night before, but you're having camaraderie with your friends, and you can exchange. I don't know that you give them your secrets, but just say, hey, I see you got a new call there now.
That is a lot of times. I'll be honest, going out and calling coyotes is fun, but I like interacting with people. I'm kind of a social butterfly.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law...
Is that how you got the nickname 10 Steps?
That's what I was just bringing up, because that's what my brother-in-law says. He says, man, he's like, Larry, he comes out with me or does whatever, and he says, dude, you can't go 10 steps without meeting someone you know. And
exactly.
That's just... And my wife says the same thing. And I like talking to people. I like interacting, and so... I remember going to these.
You're laughing because I did my research.
yeah, you did. That makes me really laugh because That's the truth, and it's funny because we show up to the contest, and I'm with my dad and brothers, and I'll get out of the truck, and people will all come up, and we sit there and BS, and I can't remember what my brothers say, but my brother and dad give me a hard time just saying, "Oh, there goes the freaking celebrity, just walking around and I'm not that way. I just like talking to people, and I meet a lot of good people on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I like interacting and talking to people, so it makes it a lot of fun. But that's
my wife teases me about it too. Yeah. That's why I'm halfway joking. It's like,
that's funny.
Can you ever go anywhere without knowing somebody? I'm like,
that's funny.
We could be out in the woods, and it's like, oh, I know that truck.
Yeah.
I know, it's like, wow.
It's funny. It's weird you say that, because I was out. I was deer hunting a couple of years ago, and we had just gotten back. Me and my brother had come down off a hill, and we're all sweaty and tired and whatnot. And we're just at the truck, and we're drinking us a Mountain Dew, and we're kind of, oh man, what should we do for the evening? And this truck goes blowing down the road, and they pass us, and they got a cloud of dust. Next thing you know, a minute later, it's backing up, and it's it's one of these guys that goes, "Hey, is that you, Larry?" I'm like, "Who is it? I don't know who that is." And, just random places that you meet people. It's awesome. So
yeah,
I like it.
It is.
I enjoy it.
So getting back on doing the coyote contest, then, so you use the same, basically the same approach. You use the same equipment.
Yeah.
You use, the same bullets, the same gun, everything's the same. So tell me the difference between a coyote calling contest and you just go out calling coyotes.
There isn't. There isn't a difference. You're just going out to call with your friends and with your loved ones, and you come back and it's just pretty much, hey, this is how many I got. Sometimes it's 0, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 10, whatever it is. But there is no difference, because even if I went out by myself and I still got coyotes, I still got coyotes. I still killed coyotes.
So you know what that tells me?
What's that?
That proposal is nothing short of cultural bigotry.
Yeah.
Because you're isolating a group.
Yep.
We're not calling race or color. It's this group of people that do this. We need to outlaw them.
Yeah. We
need to. But if they want to go do it by themselves, we're not going to bother them. They just can't do it as a group.
Yeah.
And I keep looking at that. I don't know how else to explain it to the non-consumptive user, because they just think that it's they do prejudice with it when they call it a murdering spree.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the commissioners, he said that they're just going out and bullets are flying wildly around, and it's like they're thinking that we're going out and shooting next to the trails, and he made it sound like, hey, these guys are just going out and doing things crazy like rednecks, and that's not it. We're methodical.
So all 50 of you don't line up side by side and just go out through them.
Everybody has areas they go. Everybody has done their pre-planning. They know where they want to try and be. And you want to be away from people. You don't want to be next to people. That's the one thing that people that boggles my mind, that we're calling right next to. No, we're not calling. There's actual city limits, that there's no shooting zones around Clark County, around Las Vegas, that you can't discharge a firearm.
That's a good point.
And we have to get past that. So there's teams that go up into northern Nevada. There's teams that go into Utah. There's teams that go all over. And you're trying to be by yourself. I don't want to be next to another team, because then I'm playing leapfrog with them, and that's not what I want. I don't want that. I want to be able to make my stand. If I call a coyote, I can get it. I can go to the next spot and try and call another one, and so forth. And that's what it is.
So you're not like being a fisherman that, hey, that guy just caught a fish, so I'm going to go throw my line right where he just caught his.
No, technically you don't want that. Does that sometimes does that happen? Yes, but as soon as it does, you'll see them go opposite directions. They don't want to be next to each other, because that's what you don't want. You want to be by yourself with just whoever's in your truck or whoever you're calling with, and that's what you want to do. So it just kind of just shows that it's some bigotry, that, hey, these guys are savages and they're going out and just murdering. No, it's not. It's hard. Calling coyotes is not easy, and I'm going to reiterate that a million times. It's not easy. We're not going and slaughtering everything next to roads. We're hiking out. I'm making stands, and I'm hiking out away from anything. There's no trails around me. I'd like to get to places where there's no roads, or if it's a 2-track, I get on a 2-track, and once I'm on that 2-track, I might stay on it till it ends, or I have to turn around and come back the one way. But I'm getting away from people, and that's the one thing that I just wish a lot of people would understand, is that there's already too many coyotes in Las Vegas to begin with, but we can't touch them We can't hunt them. And I get that call all the time. I get people that I know that send me the live stream from their Ring doorbell or their house cameras, and they're, hey, Larry, I thought you'd like to know I have coyotes in my neighborhood, or I got coyotes in my backyard.
That's the name of our show.
Yeah, right? It's crazy, right? So I get that all the time. Or my mother-in-law just 2 years ago says, Larry, my dog got attacked. And she lives on the south end of town.
Okay.
And she calls and she says, Larry, my dog was attacked. What do I do? And I'm like, there's not a whole lot for me to do. And she wanted me to come in and shoot the coyotes and do all this stuff. I was like, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. There's laws that keep me from even discharging a firearm in Las Vegas. She's like, well, what about setting traps? I was like, I'm not going to set a trap in your backyard and be responsible for someone's animal coming in and getting trapped. That's not what I'm going to do. What you can do, and that's what I told her, is you're going to have to call the Nevada Department of Wildlife and tell them what's going on. And it wasn't just her animal that was attacked. It was her next door neighbor's dog that was attacked, and so on and so forth. There's so many coyotes here in Vegas.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So if you see a coyote and you want to have something done about it, some people call up the dog catcher.
Yeah.
And the dog catcher goes, sorry, ma'am, but we don't, if it's an actual dog, we can come out. But it belongs to NDOW, so NDOW has to do it. NDOW doesn't have a staff. This isn't meant derogatory. This is just that...
It's fact.
They don't have it.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you why they don't have it? That's why they have sportsmen.
Exactly.
We are their staff.
And that's, we help them with the brunt of the work. We help them manage the population of big game. We help them manage the population of fish, and
everything.
Predators, everything. That's what sportsmen do. That's our role as conservationists in our state and in our nation, is to conserve wildlife, and that means managing them, harvesting them, or controlling the population, such as coyotes.
So if they call up NDOW, NDOW's going to say, where exactly is the coyote? What's it doing? Mm-hmm. It's almost kind of like calling a 911. If you're going to get a little bit of questions with there and stuff, and it's like, well, if we do come out, it will get euthanized. Yeah. But they will only come out if it's a life-threatening situation. Yeah. I mean, you got a coyote in the backyard, the kid's out there, and it's about ready to attack the kid or something. They will come out. Let's talk about that. Actual public being attacked by coyotes.
Oh man, it's funny you should say that.
In Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, it's funny you should say that. One of my brother-in-laws, he's in the medical field, and he sends me a text. He's he's gotten into hunting really big, and he likes to go out with us, and so he's been pretty cool. But he texted me just last week.
Wow.
He's like, hey, you're not going to believe this. I'm at work, and this female said that she was attacked by a coyote out. He said Boulder City. I imagine it was over by Boulder Beach area where people camp, because he mentioned that she had gotten out of a tent in the middle of the night to use the restroom and was attacked by a coyote.
Walk into the bathroom?
Walk into the bathroom, and coyote latched onto her leg, wouldn't let go. She started screaming. Her boyfriend came out of the tent and ended up having to help her get the coyote off. Well, I guess the ranger came out and was taking the report and talking to him and that. And I guess, come to find out, a week or so prior, there was also another incident where a camper was sleeping on the ground, and a coyote came up and bit him on the face. So that's just some things locally that he told me that he's had to deal with, and things of that nature. It's kind of crazy. But the only reason that stuff happens is because they're not fearful. They're not afraid.
They become habituated.
Exactly.
Last week on the show, I put up the levels of escalation of a coyote. Yeah. And let me see, I got it right here. So here's some of the levels of a coyote escalation. The very first one right here is an increase of coyote sightings on streets at night, but immediately runs away. Okay, next one's a witnessing coyote or multiple coyotes at night, but they stand their ground. An increase in coyotes approaching and taking pets at night. I mean, there you go. That's number 3 right there. Yep. Okay. Your mother-in-law.
Which I've seen personally myself here in town, leaving early in the morning, going to work. I watched a coyote come out of my neighborhood with a cat in its mouth. And you know what I saw the next day? Hey, has anyone seen my cat Fluffy? Like, legitimately, there was a poster up the next day, and I wanted to reach over and go knock on the door and say, hey, just so you know, I saw this same exact cat in the mouth of a coyote when it was leaving the neighborhood.
Yep.
So,
You know, on number 4, you got early morning or late afternoon sightings of coyotes on streets or in parks.
yeah.
You know, daylight sightings of coyotes chasing or taking pets. Coyotes attacking and taking pets that are in close proximity to their owners, with pets on the leashes or chasing joggers, bicyclists, or single adults. Now, I know that all the 3 big major stations, CBS, NBC, and ABC, average about 3 stories a year on coyote attacks.
Yeah.
Now, that's on the pets, but there have been some that the coyote was actually took the pet while it was on the leash.
Yeah.
And the owner just...
I remember seeing that story.
Yeah.
I think that was just last year.
They
last
have
spring.
one every year.
Yeah.
And so I'm bringing this up because the frequency of this is getting to the red flag stage.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, we got problems right here.
And it's increasing more and more. It's increasing every year. Just the amount of coyotes that you see in Vegas, or
Yeah.
I just see it just from people that I know that are sending me pictures of coyotes in their neighborhood all throughout the valley.
I get that now too.
Yeah.
Because everybody, you know, it says, hey, this is, you know, it used to be a rarity. I've been here 50 years. It was a rarity. They come in, but it was a rarity to see a coyote. You're not seeing a coyote now. You're seeing tons of coyotes.
That's normal.
This is a golf course, but my point is we're seeing packs now, not the singles or doubles. Here's another one right here. These coyotes, Larry, do these coyotes look scared?
No, not even a little bit. So
They're sunbathing.
yeah, those are the coyotes that I wish I could see out in the wild, but man, those coyotes just don't exist out there.
Do you ever call in? What this picture right here has got 5. Do you ever call in 5 coyotes at a time?
I have one time. So I called in. The most I've called in at one time was 8, and it was during a contest. And my partner and I were sit up down in this wash, and I start calling, and I look down to my right, and I see 4 coyotes out here in this open, and I just remember them all howling. They wouldn't cross this 1-2 track road, so I was like, man, what is going on? I'm sitting there focused on them, I'm looking over there, and next thing you know, I hear thump, 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 the steps coming, and I had 4 coyotes come right here to me. Ended up, I got 1 coyote. I started shooting at the other ones and ended up only getting 1 coyote out of 8 that we had seen. So
wow.
It's not easy. So it was kind of a crapshoot, but it was a lot of fun. So that's the most coyotes I've ever called in was 8 at one time.
So let me ask you, these pictures I've showed you, is that disturbing to you at all?
Yeah, it is a little bit. Just I think most citizens should be disturbed about that, just for the fact that these coyotes act like they own the place, and there's no fearfulness, there's no being afraid of man, and that just brings up issues, and it's going to cause human-animal interactions that people don't want to see, and there's going to be incidents where someone's going to get bit, or a little kid's going to get taken away, or something bad is going to happen, and it's
what would that do to our tourism?
Oh,
if somebody down on the strip got bit by a coyote, and that made national news.
Oh, it'd be big. It would be crazy, and people would be. That's the one thing that everybody would ask is where's. Oh, I've heard there's tons of coyotes in Vegas. They're going to attack me, and that's what you don't want.
So is the solution to ban coyote calling contests then?
No, by no means. And the fact of the matter is, we're not hunting coyotes in Las Vegas. That's the one thing that people are like, oh, they're hunting right. No, we're not. We have limitations on where we can and cannot discharge a firearm.
Right.
And we have to go out past those. So we're going out. Dude, there's teams that go hundreds of miles and getting away from everybody. So
I find it ironic that the municipality that has the most concentration of coyotes is trying to tell the rest of the state.
I find that ironic as well, because that's the truth. You won't find coyotes wandering around in Ely or Winnemucca or Eureka or wherever. Yeah. You're not going to find them wandering around in these little towns because man, they're gone just like that. Ranchers and hunters up there, they don't want them.
So these have been habituated for a while.
Yep.
They're getting in science and stuff they call it a shy coyote versus a bold coyote. They go through those steps. Mm-hmm. And there's been studies on you have the bold one. The bold one's the one that's going to go over and and start feeding on a dead animal, whether it's a deer, whatever, and bam, a mountain lion might come along.
Yeah.
Well, that coyote may or may not challenge that mountain lion, but that mountain lion can sure do it.
Oh, of course.
But if the mountain lion kills that coyote, it just taught the rest of that pack. The second you see a mountain lion, take off running, guys. Hey, George, he didn't come back last night.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and that is very true. Coyotes are very smart. They're learn
social
very, very quickly, and they learn from each other.
Yes,
and that is real reality, because they learn call sounds. They learn what people they hear truck doors. You slam the door on your truck when you're getting out. Boom, you might as well kiss that stand goodbye, and that's the one thing I tell people that come out with me or calling with me for the first time. I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing. I give them a little stand information, and I'm just
here,
like,
read
this
this.
is what's
You can't
going on.
Yeah.
You can't talk loud. You can't slam the door. Just sit there and be quiet. Don't move around a whole lot. And it's just there's a whole list of things that I don't want you to do.
You say that. If you ever actually get out into the landscape out there, your voice does carry. There's no buildings to break it up.
Yeah,
there's none of that stuff. It's amazing. The guy can be over on a ridge on the next hill, and you can hear him talking to his buddy.
Yeah. And you can even whisper and be like, hey, and they can hear you.
Yeah.
And a coyote, that's what they have. They have their hearing in their nose, and if you don't think they're not hearing it, oh, you're wrong. Oh, so wrong.
Yeah. So okay, so we've determined that there basically is no difference between just going out predator hunting and going out and doing a contest.
Yep, none whatsoever. It's just you're going out to call coyotes.
Okay, so would you venture to gauge when these contests go on, how many coyotes do you think they're taking out on an average? Do you think?
So on an average, just from one of the contests I've done, this last year it equated there was close to 50 teams. Or 50 teams, but it was like
so that's 100 guys.
But it was a 4-man team.
Okay, so 25 teams
on average. What it was, and the number of coyotes that came in was just under one per person that we got on average. That's during an early season hunt.
Okay,
and later in the season, you're going to see numbers that are maybe you might see
3,
4 win it. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So the total coyotes that might come in from different teams might be 10. Might be 15, could be 20, but it's all going to be like right there. Just depends on the time of year and things of that nature. Early season, you'll probably see you'll see a lot more teams with coyotes, and that's natural just because of the number of coyotes that are out and about. But it's nothing compared to what the wildlife services take out.
Well, that's true. That's we do have a government agency that, and thank God we do.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big game hunter.
Yeah, you and me both. That's what I love.
Big game, waterfowl, the upland.
Yeah.
And I just want to know that the fawns are being protected.
Exactly.
I shouldn't say protected. I want them to have a fighting chance.
And that's it. And I remember going out with my dad, and when we would go calling on the winter ranges for the deer. And we would call around the deer herd, and it was crazy how many coyotes we would call in around the deer herd. And
they know where the food source is.
They know where it's at.
Yeah.
They know where it's at, and that's the fact of the matter, that predator management has to happen. And the minuscule number that actual coyote contests bring in of coyotes it's not as many as people think. They're not bringing in a bloodbath of 500 coyotes, but Wildlife Services in Nevada does do that, and they'll go up into these valleys and they'll fly in with helicopters, and they'll shoot 300, 400, 500, 600 in a weekend in a couple days.
There is a huge amount of coyotes in the state.
Oh,
last episode I had an article from onlinenevada.org that quoted NDOW at the time. This was 10 years ago. That their population of coyotes estimated was about 250 to 750,000.
Wow.
Huge number. But I saw that, and it struck me, because I'm going, wait a minute. Let's be conservative. Let's say there's 200,000, and you've got 90,000 or less of mule deer. And so when you have that doe have that offspring, there's 2.
Yeah.
When you have the coyote,
it's
how many's in the litter?
Upwards of 8 to 10 or 12 or whatever.
So you're already out of balance just in offspring.
Yeah.
If you're starting on a even playing field. So it's conceivable that the coyote, if not managed, could become 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times larger than our deer population.
Oh, very easily, very easily. Just that's the nature of just canines in general. They have larger litters than game mammals. So that's just the fact. And that female coyote has to feed those pups, and so she's got to go out and scavenge and look for animals to feed them. And the next thing hey, there's an easy meal. There's a freaking fawn on the ground. Hey, that fawn's going back to the den to feed a pup full of 8 or 10 coyotes.
Does it not? I guess I'd say astound you that they're wanting to protect the coyotes and not the fawns.
Yeah.
I mean, the fawns are the underdog.
Yeah, 100%.
They're already, outnumbered. Yeah. And the solution to, I'm trying to get our mule deer population right back up.
So I remember my dad talking about the 80s and how there was deer everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just like those were the boom days for Nevada mule deer.
87, 88.
And my dad killed one of his biggest bucks in the 80s, and he just remembers that there was does and there was bucks and there was everything everywhere. Our family has some property up in Area 22, and we love to go up there, and we go up behind one of the big canyons, and we'll go up there in the spring and summertime when you should see lots of deer and everything up in the canyon. Well, growing up, we saw lots of deer up there. There was a time where we go up the canyon and we'd see a couple hundred head of deer. Well, the last few years I've gone up there and we've gone camping and we've gone up behind there, and I've had a rough time even finding maybe 10 does.
That's part of the crux of this broadcast is the fact that you talked about the 80s. In the late 80s, it was estimated the deer population was as high as 260,000.
Oh man.
Okay, so and then in the early 90s you had some harsh winters. You had some major die-offs.
Yeah.
But since the early 90s, 30 years, we are on a steady decline of mule deer population.
And think about this. Every season, I follow a lot of Facebook pages, as you do.
Okay.
And a lot of people that go out big game hunting, they're like, man, we're not seeing nearly as many deer. Hey, they're asking questions. Where are the deer at? Where should I be looking? Like, I'm not seeing anything. And it's not, like, I hunted deer and elk and antelope last year with my family. And I ran into hunters that were like, man, I haven't even seen a buck yet.
You had tags for all three?
Oh, man, we had...
What does that feel like?
It was a pretty awesome year. We had 3 antelope tags.
Wow.
2 archery deer tags, and then I had an archery bull tag.
So let me ask you something. You last year you were one of the lucky ones that got to be in the field a ton.
Oh, the whole
while you're out
hunting, the whole month of August.
Did you see any coyotes?
Oh yeah, tons of them.
While you're hunting big game?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. The day before my bull hunt, I actually I had gone out. It got hot, and so I was like, I'm gonna go. I went back to camp. Got tired of looking for elk. I was like, I'm just gonna go. I took one hand call. And I took my gun and I went out and I made 4 stands, and I called in 5 coyotes, and I ended up getting 2. The other ones, they were skittish and they came around, winded me and whatnot. But I called in 5 coyotes, and that was just the day before my archery hunt happened. And then during the antelope hunt, we saw a bunch of coyotes, and just tons of coyotes.
So I don't know what it's like to draw a tag, but my son, having 11 points, he got to have a bull elk tag this year for Area 23.
Oh, that's awesome!
That's
a great area. Too.
It was black powder.
Oh wow!
So we are up there in 23, and we're seeing about 125 head of elk, and we're starting to come into them. And in one field, we counted 7 coyotes running.
Wow.
And it's astounding to me to listen to the barking and everything else on the outside of the field. Yeah. That's not what's in there. I was estimating there probably had to be close to 20 coyotes right in that vicinity.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like, how do these things stand a chance?
Yeah.
Now, I understand they feed on the rodents, the rabbits, and everything else. But man, if they can come across a calf. Or something that's...
And there's that many of them?
Yeah.
They're going to a pack mentality where they're using each other to try and take down animals. And that's what happens when you have tons of them, is they're going to start to adapt, and they're going to start to adapt and go after bigger game because they can do it together. So...
Okay, so let me ask you a halfway loaded question. Why isn't there more coyote contests?
That's a good question. I don't think there's plenty in Nevada. There are quite a few. I wish it's just a matter of people putting them on and doing it. And there's a lot of times.
So these are private individuals.
Yeah, these are private
individuals or ranchers
or sports groups that, hey, we're trying to protect the grouse, we're trying to protect whatever. We're putting on. I know there's one in Arizona. They call it the antelope eaters. It's a springtime coyote hunt. They're trying to protect the antelope fawns that are getting ready to drop on the ground. There's all kinds of different contests by sports groups trying to protect themselves. There's townships that'll put on a contest, because I remember I did a contest a couple years ago, and I was talking to some people after the contest, and they're like, man, coyotes are so bad in our town. They're like, you don't understand. They're in our town. Like, I can't let my dog walk outside without it being picked off.
Would that town be Las Vegas?
It's actually not. It's actually Eureka. So,
wow.
Yeah. So of all places, it was in Eureka, and they were some of the people were telling me that coyotes were so bad in their actual neighborhoods that they could not let their dog outside without supervision, or else their dogs would get attacked. And it was in Eureka.
Wow.
And the contest was around
Eureka.
So that's what the contest was put on for that reason, that they had way too many coyotes up there.
Well, since I started doing some of these broadcasts, and because of this resolution coming out of Clark County, the majority of our episodes have been about coyotes. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm easy to get a hold of. I can't tell you the amount of phone calls that I've got that somebody that just happened to catch an episode and says, hey, I got to call you and tell you. The biggest problem with the coyote contest, and I thought this was a guy that was going to be against him and stuff. He says, here's the biggest problem we have in Washoe. We've got to go through 2, 3, or 4 mountain lions before we get a coyote in.
And that's
is that astounding or what?
Yeah, that's the truth. So just to put the mountain lion perspective, this last winter, me and my brother did a contest in northern Nevada, and come back to check in, and one of the teams told us that during the nighttime they saw 5 mountain lions. 5.
That came in because they were calling? They
were calling, or they spotlighted them, or whatever it was. They seen 5 mountain lions. Just that's unheard of. That's crazy. The amount of mountain lions our population of predators in Nevada is not going down by any means.
You know the old saying, you can't hunt what's not there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what's going to happen to our big game. They're not going to be there anymore. We're not managing them. If we're not managing predators, and we're still allotting all these tags, it's only a matter of time before the resource goes away, and it's time to do something. That predator management needs to be addressed in Nevada in general, and I think it shouldn't just be coyote hunters and we're the ones taking the brunt right now, and it shouldn't be that way. The one thing I'd like to drive home for everybody is that this fight for keeping this proposed bill going through should be for the duck hunters, the quail hunters, the big game hunters, the turkey hunters. It doesn't matter what hunter you are. This is not just solely on predator hunters. That's not. It's more than that. They're trying to get their little finger in there.
Like I said earlier, it's the fishing guys too.
Yeah, fishing guys. Yeah, exactly. Fishing guys. It doesn't matter. It's just their way of managing animals through feelings instead of science.
Emotion
through more than science, and it's crazy. But the one thing I'd like to push for everybody that's watching or listens to this later down the road is that we as sportsmen, we as hunters, I don't care what kind of hunter you say that you are, the only thing I can say is if you have a passion for something related to outdoors, hunting, whatever it is, this is something that you need to fight for all together, everybody. It can't just be the coyote hunters or predator hunters taking the brunt of it and trying to fight it, because that's what they want. They just want one single group to fight, because then they don't have everybody else there to help back them. And we as sportsmen, we as individuals need to stand together. That's the biggest thing, is most everybody fights. Oh, the duck hunters hate the upland game hunters, the predator hunters don't like the big game hunters because they come through their stands. Whatever it is, it needs to stop. That fighting and bickering and fighting amongst each other, that's the one thing that we have. That's our downfall.
It is. That's very well said.
That's our downfall.
We have, I'm a data guy. That's statistics. one of the first shows that we did, Bat, was the statistics on the 2019-2020 big game hunt.
Yeah.
Do you know that last year there was over 349,000 applications put in for big game
Wow.
in Nevada?
That's crazy.
I mean, when you start looking at it,
Dang.
but that didn't include the upland game. That didn't include trappers. That didn't include waterfowlers. There are a lot of people that hunt.
Oh, there's a lot.
And fish and recreate.
Yeah.
And there's quite frankly, I'm pretty proud of how we stimulate Nevada's economy.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there's
guys that go out and get skunked all the time still got to go back and fill up the gas
They
tank.
still got to. They got to get gas. They got to get snacks. They got to do whatever. So they're still pumping money into the economy, which is, and the fact that every one of us that puts in for big game tags, $3 from our application fee goes straight to
The predator fee.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good point, because before the show started, I was talking to Larry here and saying, look, on our next state wildlife meeting, we have a predator plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that $3 is going to be spent. There's an item on there, Project 38, that they are proposing to allocate $100,000 for lethal coyote control.
Yeah, and that's the flying the
Now-
coyotes, and that's flying for them or doing whatever. And do you think anyone's going to go out there and pick up those coyotes that were left for wanton waste and skin them out? No, those coyotes get left. But they're painting us, predator hunters, as criminals, as these bloodthirsty savages, when in reality, the people that the taxpayers and everybody else are paying for this program to go out and kill hundreds and hundreds of them at a time.
Yeah, no taxpayer pays any of that. That's
Or not taxpayer, but
Right.
the predator
sportsman,
fee. Sorry,
yes.
the sportsman.
Yeah, the $3 predator fee. So, you know, part of this show, I've harped on the fact that it's the sportsmen that carry the burden. 97% of roughly 97% of NDOW's budget comes straight from sportsmen.
Think about this. What organization loves what they do so much that they're willing to go out there, work projects in the summertime, in the heat, and then spend their hard-earned money that they make every year? Hundreds, like I have boys and a wife and family members that put in. We spend a good $1,000 or more of my own hard-earned money to put in for big game tags, and that fee's going right to that. We're the biggest server of conservation in the whole entire nation.
We are.
That's what Teddy Roosevelt was, and that's what he said, and we are it. That's who we are as sportsmen, as hunters. We are conservation.
If it wasn't for us, I'll go on record and say this. If it wasn't for us, the general public would not have cameras.
Yeah.
Because there wouldn't be anything to take pictures of.
Exactly.
Other than
And
the
that's the
landscape.
truth. Yeah.
And with what the wild horses are doing to our landscape.
Oh man, that's a whole nother topic.
Exactly. So
That's a whole nother
So I encourage a lot of people to do some research on this and stuff. They can come up with their own opinions of stuff and whether we're managing it right or not. But to what you said, we put our money, our sweat, and our time into it, and that's how Fraternity Desert Bighorn got 1 million gallons of water on the mountains around southern Nevada. No taxpayer did it.
Basically, like you said, we put our money where our mouth is.
Yes.
Exactly. We put our money down and we make things happen.
Yes.
And I know this last summer was extremely hard. Just think of, like, you bring up water.
Yeah. Over
It was-
200 days of no water.
200 days of no water. The the Fraternity of Desert Bighorns was able to go in August and July, and they were able to take money that they've earned from organizations, from sportsmen, and they were able to go around to all these guzzlers that were put in by who? Sportsmen.
Yeah.
And
fill them back up.
Fill them back up. So that
at $3 a gallon.
Exactly.
Roughly.
And filling up a helicopter and trucks and everybody else. You know, and there was tons of people that donated their own time to go stand by water sources to fill up the water bag for the helicopter to go dump it on the guzzler. And it's just it's awesome. We as sportsmen are amazing. I know so many people that do amazing things in our industry, in our niche, if you say it.
The picture is bigger than what we let on to.
100%.
Because, you know, I'll be honest, everybody that's watching out there is probably saying to themselves, dude, I just want to put in for my deer tag and go deer hunting.
And that's the problem. That's what too many people do. When in reality, yeah, you have your deer, like you can put in for your deer tag, but at the same time, if you're not getting out there and you're not doing some predator management and you're not getting involved with trapping or putting up fur or doing something or jumping on with one of these organizations that goes out in the summertime and helps put these guzzlers in or helps protect springs. There's a group I know that goes up on Spring Mountain every year, and they clear one of the spring heads, and they clear it so that the water gets down to the
Keep
trough
on
for the
going.
animals. So if you're not in part of one of those, jump in, do something, be a part of one of the organizations, or do your part. You pay $3 for predator management for the department to manage that.
Right.
Why don't you just take some bullets, load up your kids, call someone that has never been out in the mountains before, and go try and call a coyote in.
Yeah.
I dare you. It's addicting, and once you call one in, you're going to see that I've done something.
Easy.
I've done something here, and I've started to learn, and it's fun. It's a good way to get outdoors and to do something different. And there's so many people that, I'm just a big game hunter, or I'm just a duck hunter. And granted, I'm in the same boat. I've never been duck hunting ever. But
really?
It was funny, Ron Stoker was here just a little bit ago, and we're talking, he's like, I'm going to have to take you out duck hunting. I was like, I don't know. I have an addictive personality. I might become addicted to that too. So I don't know if my wife would be ready for that. Yeah. But in the same time, you got to get out there and do something. So if there's one other thing I'd like to push out there to the sportsmen is, how many times have you gone out and you've gone on a hunting trip and you come home and you're telling your coworkers or the people that you know, yeah, I went out to the mountains and I was climbing these big hills and I ended up taking this deer, and you show them a picture, and how many times have they said to you, I've never done that before, or I've never been hunting, I've always wanted to try it. And how often have you gone out there and tried to encourage them to come out and go with you?
Absolutely. Good point.
And bring it home. I try to do that. I try to encourage new people to try it out, to go get their hunting license, to put in. It's coming up, March 22nd.
Well, March 22nd
March
is
22nd is when the
draw opens.
The draw opens. You can start putting in. Encourage people to go out there. A little story. I've been married to my wife for going on 16 years now, and it's kind of funny because her family didn't grow up and they didn't really hunt. Well, her mother liked to do different things on your birthday. You'd fill out this questionnaire and answer a bunch of questions. Well, she was wanting questions. So I said, my question is, when are you going to get your hunter safety this year? Most of the time, everybody that answered that question, it was no. Yeah. Well, eventually, slowly but surely, I had brother-in-laws, I had nieces, I had nephews that all said, hey, I want my hunter safety. And eventually, guess what? I have a little more, not quite half of my wife's family, talked into getting their hunter safety. I've gotten my brother-in-law to come and go hunting with us and do different things. If you have the opportunity to take someone hunting, fishing, even a young person, that's the biggest population of hunters nowadays anyway, is you guys were talking last week. Yeah. The number of 11 to 15-year-olds equals that of the 60-plus.
Yes.
So, and that's
it's
amazing.
Not dying off. In Nevada, it's actually growing.
It's increasing, and it's increasing in women. It's increasing all around, and it's amazing. So if there's one thing I can tell you to do, is to get involved and to send emails in, fight this proposed bill. It's not something, it's not management. It's not managed by science, it's managed by emotion. And if more people would just get outdoors and experience it, and see what predator hunting is all about, they'd actually learn something and realize that it's actually a very effective way to manage the population of predators in our state that NDOW counts on us as sportsmen to do. That's our role. Yeah. We are managers for the Department of Wildlife, just like we are with managing the big game herd, our fishing populations, our duck populations, and our predator population.
Absolutely. Let me put up, here's the email. If we could ask you guys that are out there, have you, coworkers and them, send an email in. This is Tiffany East. Tiffany East is the first chairwoman of the Department of Wildlife State's board in the history of the state. She's looking for emails.
Yeah, good.
Send her an email. Let her know what you feel about the the proposed ban of coyote calling contests.
I've sent mine in to her. It's important to do to be involved. Just it takes a minute. Just type something up on your phone or on
3 or 4 sentences.
Yeah, say whether you do or do not approve it, and just be polite, be professional, and that's about the best thing I can say to do. But Yeah, that's the one thing that I would strongly advise everybody to do is to get out there and be involved and to send emails, and because that's what the antis are doing. That's their whole propaganda is to send emails and mass exodus of all this stuff.
Well, they prejudice by calling it, the wildlife, murdering contest
Yeah.
stuff. I'm wondering why we don't call it elk killing season.
Yeah, I agree.
Deer killing season.
Because it's a big game season. But
Yeah.
what is happening? You're harvesting, you're killing an animal and bringing it home and consuming it.
There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be said about knowing that your meat came off a mountain, and you know which mountain. But you go to Costco. Where did that meat come from?
Yeah, and a lot of
Don't
times
tell me aisle 5 down off the thing, but it's
and a lot of times
where did that come from?
People don't realize that their meat is actually tortured more than the big game is, just by going into the butcher houses and everything else. The way they dispatch them and do whatever, that's kind of brutal.
Yeah.
But in the fact that I can go out and shoot a deer with one shot and he goes down, I've got fresh meat on my table to feed my family.
Absolutely. We got some comments on here. Brian Burris says, Ron and I will change that duck hunting thing. So it sounds like you got some people out here that want to take it.
I'm ready to go try it. I know my boys were really wanting to go this year, and I missed the ball on that one. And they asked me, like, hey, Dad, when are we going to go duck hunting? And it was already, duck hunting season was already closed.
Over.
I kind of missed it on that one.
So how big is predator hunting, big game hunting, waterfowling of a heritage, of a legacy?
It's everything. Like for me, it's how I was raised. That's how my dad taught us. We'd get out and we'd go outdoors and we'd spend time together, and we'd have a good time, and we'd go out there and get involved with everything. And my dad did it, my grandpa did it, grandpa before that did it, and that was part of the heritage. I remember my great grandpa lived in Lund, Nevada, and he told us stories of how they'd go up on top of Ward Mountain because the ranger would come down and say, there's too many deer up there, we got to harvest some. And they'd go up, and I remember him telling us that they'd go up there and they'd kill 20, 30, 40 deer in a day, and they'd bring them all back down to feed the whole town.
Yeah.
And that's just that was a long time ago. But it's instilled in me, and that's what predator hunting is. And just one last thing I'd like to share with everybody just real quick.
You got a pretty neat little thing right there.
This is pretty neat to me and my family. This coyote right here was made by my buddy Richard Gonzalez. He runs and owns Dead Mount Designs, and this basically is a coyote. But on it, just a little backstory. Me and my dad and brothers always went coyote. We did all these coyote contests together, and my dad passed away in 2019. But before he did, a couple years before that, we were going to a contest, and we always say a prayer before we go, just so we're safe. And my dad goes, I'm going to say the prayer. And so me and my brothers, we bow our head, and we're kind of expecting something serious, And next words out of his mouth were, Dear Lord, may our aim be true, the bullets fly swift, and the coyotes be plentiful. Amen. And as soon as he got done saying amen, I just remember being so excited, and we were all so pumped up, and me and my brothers and my dad were fist pumping and laughing, and we couldn't do it. We knew we were going out to have a good time and enjoy the company and the camaraderie together. And it was. So
what would you feel like now, or what do you feel like now if somebody looked at you and I told you what you did was illegal?
It'd be nonsense, and I don't see it that way one bit. I just see it as me, and most of the time it's with my brothers and my family, and it's me and my family.
It's the
going
camaraderie,
out, and that's it. We're going out to hunt, and we're going out to have fun. And this coyote means a lot to my family, and it just kind of brings everything home for me, because, like you said, it's a heritage, and this is what my dad has taught me, and it's what I'm teaching my sons, and teaching them the importance of predator management and just being a sportsman and getting involved and going out and doing my due diligence as a sportsman.
And thank you for doing that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a trapper. I've hunted coyotes in my youth. Mm-hmm. I would go out. I had the Cersei calls. Yep. I do have a Foxborough. Never have used it yet. Yep. It was a Christmas present. But I always have good intentions. But with all of this stuff, and the people keep fighting at us and biting at our heels and wanting to back us into a corner and stuff, some of us got to sit out there and fight. I didn't look for this. I fell into it.
But
it's a passion.
But you're a good voice for us, and I know that you and Tracy and everybody fight for us up in the legislature, and I appreciate it. I know that I appreciate all that you guys do. You guys put all that time up there trying to teach the legislature about predator hunting, about big game hunting, about just hunting in general. And you guys do us such a great service, and for that I'm grateful. And hopefully everybody else sees that, and that they can appreciate it, and hopefully we can do our part and just send in those emails and get involved with all this stuff.
You know, that's it is very gratifying. Like you just said, you talk about coming back from a hunt, and a coworker's like, oh, I've never been hunting already. Do you know how many of our legislators
have never been hunting?
So everything that we try to do or to educate them on is about the model, the wildlife model. But more importantly, we tell them where to validate what we're telling them, so that it's not it's not just our opinion or something. Unless it is our opinion, we'll tell them that. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know that there is people that will actually walk up to a mic on behalf of the sportsman. But I learned something last week. I want to share this. We had Mr. Tracy Truman on last show. He's an attorney, and he said it on air, but he'd said it to me before. And I said, how do we get these guys involved? And he said, well, I'm an attorney. Put yourself in my shoes. I get up in the morning. I've got to go down and I got to go face a jury. So I get in there and say, guys, I'm here to represent a really nice guy, but he just felt like, I'm just not going to come today. I'm not going to be that involved. I've hired you. Yeah. You go do that. He goes, I'd never win a case. And if we lose our privilege, our heritage, it's our own doing.
Yeah, and it doesn't come back.
It doesn't.
It doesn't come back. Anything that's taken away never comes back, and that's with anything in life. If they put a law on something or they say something, it never, ever comes back, ever.
I'm going to throw it up one more time and ask them, I don't care if it's just 2 or 3 sentences. Say, hey, I fully support keeping the contests intact as they are. Tiffany at TiffanyEastPR.com. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys will pick up your phone right now. Send an email. I got to tell you, the impact, if Miss East got 50 emails right now within a 5-minute period, how much of an impact do you think that would have on her? How much do you think she would think that the sportsmen care about what's going on?
Oh, she thinks it's a lot. And then she passes that information on to the board, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every wildlife commissioner will get a copy of that. So all 9 of them will get to see that.
That's awesome.
So let's tell the people that are there to represent us, the 5 sportsmen, tell them how they can best represent us. If we don't tell them how to represent us, we can't blame them for voting the way they vote.
Yep.
We got to do it ourselves.
Yep.
So, Larry?
Hey, I've had fun out here. This has been awesome.
I hope you'll come back.
Yeah, I will.
Because I know you big game hunt.
Oh, I love it.
I'm waiting to the day where we can start talking about bugling for the elk.
Hey, that was a pretty fun season last year. I could go on and on. So I like I said, I'm an all around sportsman. I like big game hunting. I love it. I grew up doing it and putting in for tags, and I love when I draw a tag and I put all my.
Who doesn't?
I know, right? Exactly.
How does that feel?
Oh, it feels amazing. So, I've been lucky enough that I've gotten to draw some sheep. I got to draw my sheep tag. I've got to draw a couple bull tags.
Did you get a sheep?
I did. I killed a really nice one actually. So, and right there in my backyard. Yeah, it was
really
pretty awesome. Yeah. So I did lots of scouting and hunted. I hunted my butt off, and I killed a ram I'll never ever probably be able to top, or I'll probably never even draw a tag again.
That's a feat in itself.
And
it
took me 20 years to draw the tag. I am an avid sportsman. I love big game hunting, and when I draw a tag, I put all my eggs in that basket. Coyotes would go to the side, but the minute, and that's my wife knows, my family knows, my friends know. The minute I'm done big game hunting, that. It just the light switch clicks and it's time for predator mode, and I go out and I hammer predators, and I like to go places where I know there's game, where there's elk, where there's deer, where there's antelope, and you're gonna find coyotes. You're gonna find coyotes all around that stuff. You're gonna find coyotes around cattle. Ranchers love it.
Yeah.
I'll go talk to ranchers. Hey, have you seen any coyotes today, or you been seeing any? Man, hey, they're like, shoot all of them you want. Just watch for my cows, and that's
absolutely
100% it.
That is the norm.
That's it. Ranchers, and they don't want them. I've been around sheep herders. I've been around cattle ranchers. I've been around you name it, and they don't want them around. They don't want their animals pestered by them. They don't want their calves picked up or eaten by them. It's crazy. I get those calls all year long, especially during calving season. I've gotten a few calls saying, "Hey, I've got a bunch of coyotes up here. You need to come take care of them."
Yeah.
So, but Mike, I appreciate it. I've had a good time talking with you today.
Here's the face of a sportsman. If you ever wonder what a sportsman looks like, here it is, right here.
Oh man, I'm just your regular Joe, just out there doing my thing, and I'm just glad to be able to go out and enjoy the outdoors that Nevada has to offer. Like you said, we can't hunt what's not there, so I'm hoping that everybody goes out and does some predator management themselves. I'm hoping that this bill to ban contests where people get together just like any other contest or banquet or anything else doesn't get passed, because it would be destruction. It would be the start of destruction on getting their greasy finger in there on managing.
Well, we right here got to see what happened in 2012 when they changed trapping laws just in Las Vegas, not the state, just in Las Vegas.
It's crazy.
And look how fast the coyotes multiplied.
Yeah. It's crazy. They've done a number here just in town, so it's crazy.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it aches me to know how many pets got taken that didn't need to be getting taken.
Yeah.
That's like losing a member of your family.
Yeah, for a lot of people it is.
A lot.
And that's
I have a 95-year-old neighbor right next door to me. Mm-hmm. I live in a retirement community, but the pet is all they got.
Yeah.
She's a widow. It's everything. And so I try to watch out for the coyotes and stuff that are out here and stuff for her. But yeah, so Larry, you always have an open invitation to come on back.
I appreciate it.
Okay, man. Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate it so much.
Viewers out there, pick up your phones, go write an email, send it off. We'll see you next Tuesday, 6 o'clock. Thank you.